In this video, I will talk about function machines. The video will cover C1, C2, F1 and F2. The first topic we'll look at is inverse operations. The word inverse means reverse or opposite. So we will be looking at reverse or opposite operations. So let's look at this example. When we have 3 and 7, to go from 3 to 7, we have to add 4. However, if we're going in the other direction, from 7 to 3, we need to subtract 4. So we can say that addition and subtraction are the inverse operations of each other because one can reverse the other. So for example, adding 4 can be reversed by subtracting 4. Let's look at another example. If we have 4 and 12, to go from 4 to 12, we need to multiply that by 3. But to go backwards from 12 to 4, we need to divide it by 3. We divide 12 by 3 and we get back to 4. So we can say that multiplication and division are the inverse operations of each other because one of them can reverse the other. Let's now move on to function machines. A function machine looks something like this. It has an input, a function, and it will have an output. The function is the operation which will be done on the input number or expression, which will result in the output. So in this case, for example, 12 add 3 will be 15. My input was 12, my function was adding 3, and the output will be 15. Here are a few more function machines. For example, the second one is 12 take away 3, which will be 9. The third one is 12 multiplied by 3, which is 36. And lastly, 12 divided by 3, which is 4. We can see that even though our input is the same in each case, it is 12, because the function is different in each time, the output will be different as well. Let's now look at what we can do with function machines. We can work out what was the original input if we know the output. So in these questions, we know the output, it is always 30, but the function was different in each case. And to work out the input, we'll have to use the inverse operations to find the original number. To find the original number, to which we added 5 to get to 30, we have to work backwards and use the inverse operation of adding 5, which is subtracting 5, to get to our original number, which will be 25. In the second case, we had an input number, we subtracted 5 from it and got 30. To find that input, we need to go from the output, do the inverse operation, which is adding 5, and the original number was 35. In the third case, we had an input, we multiplied it by 5, and we got 30. What could have been this number? We work backwards. Multiplying 5, the inverse operation of that is dividing by 5. If we divide 30 by 5, we get 6. So the original number, the input, was 6. In the last case, we had an input, we divided that by 5, and we got 30. So to find this original number, we have to work backwards. We have to multiply 30 by 5, because that is the inverse operation of dividing by 5, and then we'll get to our input number. 30 multiplied by 5 is 150, and just to double check, 150 divided by 5 will get us to 30. Let's now look at two-step function machines. Here we'll have an input, we do one function, another function, and then we'll have an output. So there will be two functions or two operations applied on the input number. So let's start with the first one. Our input is 5, and we multiply that by 2, which will give us 10. So at this point, our number is 10. We then input that into another function, which is subtracting by 4. 10 subtract 4 is 6. Therefore, our output number will be 6. In the second case, we have 7. We add 8 to that, which will give us 15. And then we do multiplying by 3 on this 15, which will give us 45. We can also work backwards when we have two-step function machines. We have to pay attention that we have to do the inverse operations in the order in which we are going with them. Let's see what I mean. We are looking for the input of this function machine where the output is 5. First we have to do the inverse of subtracting 3, which is adding 3. If we add 3 to 5, we'll get 8. We then move on to the second operation, which was multiplying by 2. The inverse of that, when we are working backwards, is dividing by 2. If we divide 8 by 2, the result will be 4. So just to double check, we can work the other way around. If we start with 4, multiply that by 2, we do get 8, subtract 3 from that, and we end up with 5. So we worked correctly. Pause the video now and try to attempt the second question by yourself. In the second question, we are again trying to find the input of this function machine where we added 2 to the input and then multiplied that by 5, and the result was 30. So, because we are trying to find the input, we have to work backwards. We start from 30. The inverse of multiplying by 5 is dividing by 5. 30 divided by 5 is 6. So our intermediate result is 6. And then we continue working backwards. The inverse of adding 2 is subtracting 2. 6 subtract 2 will be 4. So our result here will be 4. If we work forward, we can check our result. We start with 4, add 2, that is 6. 6 multiplied by 5 is 30. So we worked correctly.